In this video, we're going to create a table and our relationships. So the first thing you're going to do is go to the Create tab and click on Table. You have created the table. Now we're going to save it as we click over to our design view so we can add our columns. And this one is going to be our event table. So events. All right, we're going to have that ID is going to be our event ID, and we'll leave it an auto number because we know that if we look at the data that's going to go in it is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and that's what an auto number does. Then we're going to add the charity ID, and if we look at that data, we see that it has letters in it, so it needs to be a short text so that it can have the actual letter as well as a number in it. Then we have after that, we have event name. And that will be short text. Then we have the date. Okay, now you will see that that is a reserved word, but in the case of this database, it won't hurt anything. So we're going to leave it date. But normally, I would probably call it event date or whatever the table was in particular. Name it the date that so that you don't have to worry about that reserve word being used. But in this case of this database, we will go ahead and leave it date. So click OK. And change the data type, though, to the date time. Then we're going to have start time. And again, we're going to change that to the date and time. All right, we finished with all our fields. So now we can save it, close it, and put our data into the actual table. And so now we're ready to enter our data, and you would use the data that is in the instructions and add that. I'm going to not fill in the data for the sake of time right now, and I'm going to go ahead and close this table. We have the first four tables built. You will have a total of 6, but I'm going to show you with these 4, I'm going to show you how to build the relationships in this database. So if I go now to the database tools and click on relationships, okay, I can click on show table, and I need to add each one of these tables. All right, once I have all 4 of them on there, I hit close. And then it becomes a matter of connecting them, and that means building the relationships. And all I have to do is take the ID, which the primary key ID, and take and drag it so that it becomes related to the tables that it needs to be related to. And I can kind of see that by looking at the primary key and then the foreign key that's in the other table. So I'm holding my finger down so that I'm dragging and dropping that charity ID on top of the other one. Pops up the relationship box. I do want to enforce my referential integrity, which just means that that stops data that doesn't match from being put into the fields. And I'm going to hit create. Now I'm going to take my event ID and I'll drag it over to this one and be able to connect my event ID. I'm going to enforce that referential integrity. I'm going to take the charity ID right here, which is already connected, so I'm okay there. Then I've got my member ID I need to connect to this member ID. And again, I'm going to force my referential integrity. Okay, I now have my tables so that they are related to each other. And remember that relationships really kind of tell the story of the database. So in this case, the story really is about members who have volunteer hours, charities that allow volunteer hours, and then with that, you can see that there are events that both charities and volunteer hours occur. So one member, right, can have many volunteer hours. Then you have one event that can have many volunteer hours. And then you have charities that can have many events. Now, you will add to your relationships the other two tables after you create them later in this assignment.